start the Sissy Harrison case, just sort of the order of the way we'll do it is we have the attorneys for DCF. I have Elaine, Mark, Amy, and Maria. You will put on as your case. Jamie will be the first witness because you're the DCF worker that worked with the Harrison family, including Sissy when she was younger. And then Karen A, hopefully Karen A shows up because she's not here. That would be a second witness, as she has worked, she's worked with Sissy ever since she became pregnant. So those two are your witnesses. Now, I'm also going to have you call after, so that's the order. Jamie first as witness, then Karen, you're next. I'm going to have you then call Sandy, the court-appointed investigator. And just remember, she's subject to cross-examination from all sides. But I'm going to have DCF call her next after Karen A. And then, I don't see Leslie yet, but who knows if we'll even get to that point. Leslie, as the GAL, will be the next witness, and again, subject to cross-examination from all sides.
So we're going with Jamie, Karen A.
Yes.
And the next one was? Leslie?
Leslie? No.
Sandy, then Leslie.
Same, okay.
Okay, you got it?
Yep.
So the two DCF workers, the court-appointed investigator, the GAL, okay, then DCF will rest, then attorneys for Sissy, Joe, Ed, Geneva will put on Sissy's grandmother, Karen, the other grandmother, so you'll be next. And then finally, we have Sissy herself testifying, okay? So that will be the order of the witnesses. And again, just the two professionals, the GAL and the court-appointed investigator, are subject to cross from all sides. But other than that, obviously the DCF's witnesses, DCF will question as a direct examination, and the attorneys for Sissy and the children can object. Now, if you want to object just because there are so many attorneys, you can do a number of things. You can just stand up if you want, or you can just raise your hand, because you might all do it at once, and I don't want people just saying, objection hearsay. I need to be able to identify who you are, and then you'll state the basis for your objection and so forth. So I handed out a little evidence summary that might be helpful to some people in terms of the type of questioning for direct and cross-examination. We'll start, of course, with the opening statements, and I think you previously said that Geneva would do the opening statement for Sissy, and then Mark would do the opening statement for the department, and that Stephanie would do the opening statement for the children. Okay, so we'll start after I call the case. We'll start that way and proceed right after opening to the department calling the first witness. Any questions?
You can't cross-examine DCF?
Yes, absolutely. Direct. So the two witnesses, again, Sandy, I'm sorry, not Sandy, where am I? Jamie and Karen, right, who are DCF witnesses.
Okay.
The attorneys for Sissy and the attorneys for the children can cross-examine those. So you can decide amongst yourselves who wants to do cross-examination, okay? Yes, absolutely. And same thing when Karen and Kate testify as grandmother and mother, DCF can cross-examine you as well. So obviously thinking this is going to go into Thursday, and more than likely, at least the mother's case certainly won't be happening today. I don't think, unless we whip through all of the testimony really quickly.
Who goes first with the opening statement?
Probably
DCF, right?
DCF.
Yeah, let's have DCF, then go to the mother and then the children.
Okay.
Let's do it that way.
Okay, should I introduce myself too, just for the record here?
I don't have to blur. Tanya, would you?
Yeah.
And then Thursday you can help out with the children's attorneys. Now, what is the name of the case? Do you know?
Mr. Mom, I'll be regarding
we may not get to you today, but, okay.
So, I'm doing statistics.
Care protection.
I see.
Now, a number of things. I can have her, no, never mind, I'm just thinking aloud, whether she should have her swearing everybody at once. No, I'll have her do it one by one. So Tanya, you're gonna, when we get to the witnesses, you're gonna have to swear them in, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Still open.
Okay, so you call the case first, care protection of the Harrison children. And then how about when she calls the case, just have the attorneys identify themselves.
Okay.
In the real case, obviously, all the parties would not be in here, more than likely. Parties meaning I'm sorry, not the parties. The witnesses might be outside, depending on, sequestration issues or other kinds of issues. But, so I'm just gonna have the attorneys identify themselves, and then actually when you call your witness is when we'll find out who that person is, and she'll put them under oath and so forth. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
the Harrison
So,
children.
care protection of the Harrison children?
Lawyers, please
Lawyers,
identify
all right.
yourselves.
Mark Fournier for the DCF.
Or Sister June.
All three?
Yes, who else is here for DCF? Mark Fornia?
I am Elaine Mitchell for attorney for DCF.
Amy Carpenter, attorney for DCF.
Okay, thank you.
Alright. Jonah Panopoulos, attorney for Sissy Harrison.
Edward Walker, attorney for Sissy Harrison.
Joseph Keller, attorney for Sissy Harrison.
Okay, attorneys for the children, we have,
Stephanie Miller, representing the children, Carol and Sandy Harrison.
and who else do we have for the child?
On the guardian, like, has this number?
Yes, yeah, you can start as attorney for the child.
Attorney for the children.
Who else is attorney for the child?
Attorney for the child, hold on. I thought I was attorney for the parents.
For the parents?
Oh, for the child, I believe.
For Sissy, you mean?
Yeah.
Did you prepare for Sissy? Because that's fine, we'll go off the record for a second. If you prepared for Sissy, stay with Sissy.
No, hold on a second. Let me open up the file, sorry.
Off the record for a second, not more than a second. Who are you attorney for?
Actually, I'm attorney for the children.
Okay, all right. Department, I'll hear from you.
Okay. The department seeks to terminate the parental rights of Sissy Harrison of the newborn twins Carol and Sandy pursuant to General Law 210, Section 3. Sissy herself, only 16, is in custody of the department and has been since she was 10. Her own parents were never married. Her father, Gary Saylor, severed relations and support for his family when Sissy was 4. Over the next 5 years, her mother subjected Sissy to physical abuse, beginning with the first 51A petition filed when she was in first grade. The department obtained permanent custody when she was 10 after the mother was convicted of drug trafficking and received a 5-year sentence. Sissy has lived in numerous foster, treatment, and group homes over the last 10 years as little positive role modeling. She became pregnant at 15 by 17-year-old Robert Jackson. After the birth of her twins, Boston Children's Services obtained custody of the newborns, and Sissy has remained in custody of the department. Under General Law 210, Section 3, subsection C, the court shall consider the ability, capacity, fitness, and readiness of the child's parent to assume parental responsibility. Here, that Sissy is herself in legal custody of the department, has little education due to her history of truancy, and has no means of economic support, is not likely to pass muster of the court, which must, in making the determination of whether Sissy has the ability to be a parent, consider that the health and safety of her children shall be paramount, but not exclusive concern under General Laws 210, Section 3, subsection C. In seeking to terminate parental rights, the court must consider what is in the best interest of the newborns and whether the parent may endanger the health and safety of the newborns. That the social worker, Christine Pasaias, has reported in her dispositional plan that Sissy has talked of suicide many times and recommends that Sissy should participate in therapy at least twice weekly. It's indicated that Sissy's retention of parental rights is clearly contrary to the health and safety of the newborns. Accordingly, the paternal grandmother, Angela Jackson, desires to adopt them, and the department strongly recommends that this honorable court grant the department's petition under General Laws 210, Section 3 to dispense with the parental consent to adopt the newborn children of a child still in the custody of the department.
Thank you. We'll hear from children's attorneys.
Good day.
Your Honor. My name is Stephanie Mello, and along with my co-counsel, we represent Carol and Sandy Harrison, the twin daughters of Sissy Harrison. This is an unfortunate case where the Department of Children and Families, which has already failed Sissy, and is now trying to terminate Sissy's parental rights without first trying to achieve their goal of family reunification. The evidence will show that Sissy has been in the system since age 10. Separated by her sister, she was abandoned by her parents. She was taken from her grandmother and then reunited, although with the fear that she could be taken again at any moment. Sissy feels powerless over her life and any security in keeping her family together. First, her sisters were taken away from her, and now DCF is trying to take her children from her. Sissy is interested, the evidence will show that Sissy is interested in learning to raise her children properly as she attended pregnant and parenting classes regularly from the time that she was pregnant until the children's birth. The evidence will show that Sissy wants to raise her children, she just needs a little help. And DCF should first and foremost be trying to help Sissy preserve her family rather than only try to destroy it. They should provide her a service plan and offer parenting services to help her become an effective mother, unlike the mother Sissy had. The evidence will show there are resources standing by to help Sissy reach her goal and become a good mother to her children and provide for her family. The Crittenton Hastings House is ready and willing to let her reside there until she can find permanent housing, and they have many services to provide her in caring for her children and becoming a good mother. The Alston Brighton Community Health Center is ready and available for therapy, of which the social worker says that Sissy should attend, and the Youth Advocacy Center is standing by. Please give Sissy Harrison a chance to be a good mother to her children. Help her to provide for her daughters what her own mother couldn't provide for Sissy and her sisters, a loving mother who can support her children. Please hold the Department of Children and Family on their own to their own regulations, requiring them to first attempt family reunification and preservation of the family before they break this family apart and terminate any and all rights to her daughters. They are the only family that she has, and Sissy is the only family that they have. Thank you for your time.
Okay, attorney for Sissy Harrison, please.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Attorney Panopoulos, along with my co-counsel, and we represent Sissy Harrison, the mother of Carol and Sandy. Sissy would like to raise her own children, and therefore we're here to argue that her parental rights should not be terminated. Sissy is a 16-year-old woman with twin daughters. She's had a troubled background as a result of neglect and abuse by her mother. She's had prior encounters with the Department of Children and Families as she was removed from her mother's home at a young age and was then removed from her grandmother's home when her grandmother was hospitalized. Sissy was placed in many foster homes and was permanently separated from her two sisters. This left Sissy with no social support network and feelings of instability and powerlessness. Sissy has continued to suffer as a result of being removed from the custody of her own mother, and thus fears that her daughters will suffer the same. Through her own experience at DCF, she fears that DCF will not be able to provide a safe and stable life for her children. The evidence will prove that Sissy is competent and fit to care for her daughters. Sissy has already proven that she's a responsible parent. From the day she found out she was pregnant, she began attending an education program for pregnant and parenting young women. She attended this program regularly to ensure that she was able to take care of her own children when they were born. We will offer testimony from Christine Casayas, the court-appointed investigator, who recommends that Sissy should be allowed to maintain her parental rights and relationship with her daughters because that's in the best interest of her children. The judge will instruct you that DCF must prove by clear and convincing evidence that Sissy is unfit and that it is not in the best interest of the children to be returned to Sissy's custody. The evidence we present today will prove that Sissy is fit to regain custody of her children and that it is in their best interest to be reunited with their mother. Therefore, we ask you to review all the evidence to find for Sissy Harrison and return a verdict that her parental and custody rights should not be terminated.
Thank you, Counsel. Department, call your first witness.
We will call as our first witness Sissy, please. I mean the DCF that worked with Harrison family, including Sissy. Sorry. The crossword.
You want to sue?
Okay. So you would, can you
Is my name gonna be changed?
Jimmy.
Use your real name. Use your real name. That makes it easier for us.
So she has to stand up to do that?
Yep.
You will swear to the court.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You're supposed to ask
So
for
help me
that.
Okay,
tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes. Thank you. Counsel, you may proceed. Whoever is doing that, direct.
Okay, we have discussed that, so I'm going to start it, I guess. When did you first meet Sissy?
I met Sissy.
Wait, stop. Can we first start, and you can make up these facts? You know, what you sort of want to get into her qualifications and set her
Okay.
background and all of that first. Ask her
Okay.
how long she's worked for the department, what
Okay.
does she do, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
How long have you worked for the department?
I worked for DCF for almost 20 years.
Okay.
Could you just speak up a little bit, George?
And,
Sorry, Your Honor.
And what is your educational background?
I hold a Bachelor's of Science in Social Work as well as a Master's.
Okay. Are you the first worker for DCF that has dealt with Sissy, or are you a successor?
I am the first.
Okay. So you are familiar with her throughout the duration from the age of 4 or 6, I believe it was.
Yes, I believe 7,
Okay.
when Sissy was in first grade.
Were you the one who dealt with the initial 51A petition and care protections following that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At that time, what do you feel the family situation was like in her home?
At the time of the 51A, it was filed by Sissy's first grade teacher with the suspicion that there was some abuse and neglect going on in their home.
And would that be because she was covered with bruises after being truant for 4 or 5 days?
Why is no one objecting? Okay, the last 3 questions should have been.
Can anybody object?
Who wants to say objection?
Yeah,
Stand up?
either
Okay.
stand up, let me recognize.
So call this,
Objection argumentative.
isn't the attorney for the Sissy supposed to object?
Sissy and children should be objecting.
Oh, okay.
Sissy and children, because the attorney for the children are advocating return to Sissy. So actually go back a few questions. Was there anything wrong with the form of the questions?
They were leading.
Okay.
But, I mean, do we want to be
They were leading, and they really didn't set the stage enough, okay?
Okay.
So I sort of let you go in terms of the qualifications there. You could have done a little bit more, but I think you want to establish more how, really how she came to work with this family, and then let her say there was a 51A rather than you bringing it up, okay? I don't want to put
So should
everything
I-
on Mark. Mark already did the opening and started asking some questions. I don't know if anybody wants to, who else is DCF? I know
Amy and
Amy
Elaine.
and I have Elaine. Do any of you want to ask a few questions next?
I can ask one.
Go ahead.
What observation about the family did you notice?
No.
Should we go back
Again,
to qualifications
because
to
she's
start
gonna
over?
go into this huge narrative now. You wanna take her step by step. I know nothing, in fact, I deliberately, and I'm leaving, I'm not even flipping through. I did not refresh my memory about this case so that I could be truly sort of, I need to understand the sequence of events, you know, how it is that she came to work with the family, and so you're gonna take me through from when Sissy was 6 or 7, when you started with her, up until the time that she became pregnant, through a series of questions that might start with the words like what, when, where, how, what happened next, what did you do next, that sort of thing. So again, then she's answering, but she's also not answering in the form of a huge narrative either, okay? So go ahead, Amy.
You first became involved with the family when she was in first grade. Can you tell us the reason you were there was because of an assessment of the family's condition? Can you explain what the condition was?
Sure. There were a Allegedly, there was abuse going on, physical abuse going on in the family. The father was.
Stop. What, and so, then she answered that, what specifically was going on?
Physical abuse, off the record, it doesn't have a lot of details, John.
Okay, make him stop.
She was missing from school for 4 days, and he got covered with black and blue bruises. It's in there somewhere.
There was some bruises, black and blue bruises observed by teachers at the school, and then a 51A was filed as a result of possible abuse charges.
And what did the department do next?
Next, the department took steps. Sissy and her sisters were removed from the home and placed with their great-grandmother, her name is Carla Harrison. And the children remained with Carla. As a result, Lorraine, Sissy's mother, she was convicted for drug trafficking charges. And then, soon after...
Oh! What's going on here?
Narrative.
And you said a whole bunch of stuff that took over a period of time, right? So initially, go back to, I'm sorry to, but go back to the nurse's report, right? Let's go back to that particular line of questioning. The nurse's report, Sissy came in with bruises, right? Is that what you just testified about?
Yes.
That Sissy came in with bruises?
Yes.
All right. As a result of your investigation, what else did you find out about the family? And remember, up until now, I just heard about Sissy, and all of a sudden I heard that there was 2 sisters, and they were with grandmother.
I apologize. After the 51A was filed, it was found that Sissy had been absent from school for 4 days, and she returned to school with traces of bruises on her arms and shoulders.
Okay, so go ahead, either Mark, Elaine, Amy, what's your next question?
What does the family consist of?
The family consists of 3 children, mother, father who's absent from the children's lives, and...
Wait, at the time of your initial introduction to the family,
Yes.
Who was the family at that time? I believe that's the question
Yeah.
you were asking.
The mother, Lorraine, the grandmother, Carla, and the 3 children.
What are the ages of the children?
What were the ages?
What were-
Because we're trying to establish back at that point.
Well, Sissy was 7 at the time, and Caroline was
3 years less.
so 4 and 3.
And the 3 children were living with their parents?
Yes,
At the
with
time
the
that
mother.
you initially investigated?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you, go ahead,
But
Mark.
her parents weren't living, were her parents living together at that time?
I did not see the father.
Okay.
He had been absent.
So after the 51A report was filed, what action did you take concerning the 3 children?
DCF decided that Sissy and her sisters should be removed from the household.
And where did you remove them
Wait,
to?
so you removed Sissy and her sisters just because Sissy had a bruise?
Well, because of the investigation into the 51A.
And what did the investigation reveal other than the bruise?
They found that she had been underfed and she was poorly cared for by the family.
Did you find that she was physically abused, or was?
Yeah, well, we found out later in her teen years, because this all happened when she was 7, that she was physically abused by older boyfriends.
And at this time of the action of the 51A, you removed the children. Where did you remove them to?
They were placed in a home with their great-grandmother, Carla.
And she had a separate residence herself, did she not?
Correct.
Is she? Okay. How was her relationship with her grandmother?
They were very close. It was a good relationship.
And were they living there long?
They were living there up until Carla, great grandmother, she became ill, and
Was she physically unable to take care of them?
she was.
Was she physically present?
Objection
Yeah.
to the, was she physically unable to take care of
He's asking
that
yes and no
question?
questions, they're all leading.
Yeah, the leading.
They're all
Okay.
leading, she's got to describe what
Sustain.
condition.
Okay, sustain.
Exactly what happened to her grandmother? Or do you know?
Objection. That was prevalent.
Well, not necessarily. Why was she unable to care?
We just need to know that they were removed. We don't really need to know, I mean, what happened.
What's your offer, proof, counsel?
Basically, she had pneumonia.
Okay.
And
Wait, no, wait, stop it! The witness isn't supposed to go on and answer when the judge is deliberating whether to sustain or overrule the
Was the
objection.
grandmother's illness short term or
Wait,
was?
Mark, I haven't decided anything yet. I had an objection. I heard from you a little bit, but I was still asking you a question. I haven't decided whether to sustain or overrule the objection. And you went on and started asking questions.
I just changed.
Where's my court
I changed the word.
officer? Continue with what your argument was to me in terms of where you were going with this question.
I was
Establish why
attempting
you
to
want.
determine the nature of the grandmother's illness, to see if it was like a 2-day thing, or if it was a permanent from like a stroke or whatever. Determine why
And the other
she
thing
was-
you could say is you're setting the stage, the chronology of the events, and they are gonna ultimately make sense and be relevant. So you know, so I'm gonna allow you, but just be careful of the form of the questions that they're not leading. But I do wanna hear, about the mother's illness and about what, where the children went next and in what order and how long and so forth.
Was the great-grandmother's illness such that she would be unable to care for the children again?
At the time.
At the time of the, they were living with her?
At the time, she entered a hospital facility.
Okay. When the children were then removed from the grandmother's care, what did you do with them?
DCF had taken steps to gain permanent custody of the Harrison children.
Were the children remaining together as a group at that time?
At that time, Sissy was placed in separate foster care from her 2 younger sisters.
How many times were they able to meet each other as sisters and as a family unit?
Not a lot.
How many times were the children in various homes?
Well, Sissy herself was in 7 different foster homes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sissy herself was placed in 7 different foster homes in a period of 16 months.
16 months. Why was she in so many homes?
Sissy had some issues adjusting to the different family life. She had been acting out in school, and she'd been displaying some emotional and behavioral issues.
Did she ever explain why she was having issues? Did she ever verbalize her feelings to you?
Not so much to me, but more towards her foster parents.
Okay. Did she ever reside in any homes other than foster homes?
After her time in foster homes, she then was placed in St. Vincent's home, it's a residential treatment facility.
A treatment facility
Do you know
for what?
how old was she about then, or what grade was she in when she was at St. Vincent's?
She was about, I believe, 12 years old.
All right.
What kind of a treatment facility is this?
It's a residential treatment facility. Because she had problems adjusting to foster care, she had been having nightmares and she viewed anxious and oppositional behavior. So they thought this might be the best place for Sissy to.
I believe the co-counsel wants to ask you a few questions.
Was there any reason why she went directly to foster homes as opposed to going with another family member? You know, she was with the great-grandmother, you know, were there no other grandparents or other relatives that could have taken the children to kind of keep them together?
Not that we were aware of, because the father had been absent and the great-grandmother and the mother, Lorraine, she was in jail. And Carla was in the hospital.
And did DCF make attempts to keep the children together? Because I guess that would be, that, I
Wait,
mean, I know.
I think there's an objection, and I want to hear what
That's a
it-
leading question.
Objection leading. The witness.
Yeah, but I
I
don't know
guess
why
what
you're
attempt-
asking that question.
What attempts to keep the children together? I mean, she's already in a situation where
Yeah,
she's.
I don't know if that's helping your case, but,
No.
if you wanna ask it, then,
No, if I shouldn't be asking it, I'm in my head, it's hard because I'm in the DCF hat, but
Mhm.
I'd wanna know what they did. You know, kinda, cause it's like all of a sudden, you remove the child from the parents, you're now with the great-grandmother, the great-grandmother gets sick, okay, good, you know, she can't
I
care
think
for
it's
them.
good that you pointed out that, okay, you did it just because no one else was around. Mother's in jail, okay? Mother's in jail, grandmother at the time is sick, and there's no other relative. So I think I would leave it
Just
at
leave it
that.
at that. Okay.
And then, you know, because what is it that DCF wants to do here with this witness? So this witness has pretty much known Sissy from 7 till almost 16, right? Okay, but yet it's current, you know, fitness that's really, so what is it that DCF wants to do with Jamie?
You want her basically to say that she's not fit.
Well, she's not gonna say it, but
But-
what's the reasons why she's not?
She has problems.
She has problems, yeah, but you also have to be careful, because some of those problems are sort of DCF-induced problems, right? So, yeah, so sometimes you're treading, you know, muddy waters in your questioning. So, right, so as long as everyone's aware of that. All right, continue, I don't know what, if you want to ask that question and go, so we were last with her at St. Vincent's at around 12 years old. Her two sisters were in another home, and she's in a separate place. And there are no other relatives to take care of her. So what would be your next question, Amy?
Can you explain what her, you know, what was her,
Why were the three children separated? Sissy in one treatment center and the two other girls separated from her. Why were they separated?
If you know.
Pick it up.
Sissy required some special needs just based on her personality. She just acted differently and adjusted differently than her two younger sisters.
Okay, so how long was then she residing in St. Vincent's?
She was at St. Vincent's for, I believe, a year, and then, yeah, a year.
And where did she go after that?
And then afterwards, she was placed at a group home in Madigan.
And there how long?
She was there for about 5 months in the group home.
Okay. And where did she go after that?
Afterwards, she returned to her great-grandma's home, who had been feeling better.
Okay. What happened while she was living with her great-grandmother at that time?
I'm sorry, I lost the line of questioning.
Oh,
Where
well-
are we at now?
Well, we went from St. Vincent's and then she went to a group home, and then she was there for 5 months, and then she's back with her great-grandmother.
So let me just ask you this, DCF council, are you going through placements first and then you'll go to educational history? You're not sort of saying which, and it's fine if you want to do it that way, but.
I think with Jeff, I was personally just doing that to see her placements, to see the
That's fine.
disruption of her life and
Okay, so
family.
placements, and at some point, you're gonna go back and talk about it.
Why are you pointing out what the disruptions of
So
her
you're-
life? Oh, off record. I'm confused.
Well, as we said before, that it's, yeah.
It seems like
It's
you're
tough.
presenting our case.
Well, I was doing this because I wanted to show that she was troubled enough to be separated from her two younger sisters, and they were keeping
Okay.
them separate as a family for a reason, and because she was perhaps dysfunctional and could not live with the other two. When actually DCF actually often caused it, but. But
We need to ask some more questions about what was she doing?
Exactly. I haven't heard what
was she doing that got her into residential treatment. Kids don't go to residential treatment just because they ain't adjusting very well.
And you've got some facts in there, I believe, as to what she was doing that caused.
would Elaine like to interject a few questions? Ms. Lyon?
Can we talk about the family now, or?
I can't hear you.
Can we talk about the family now, or into education?
Well, I want to hear what was just said.
Why, okay, for instance, why, what kind of behavior was she performing at St. Vincent's home that caused her to move to another property after a year?
Just having difficulty adjusting,
Sort of difficulties.
anxiety, she was acting out, very nervous, and she threw a lot of tantrums.
Do you feel she was acting abnormally for a child in that treatment center? Or would it be more of a standard behavior?
Where she was at that point, it wasn't helping her, it wasn't rehabilitating her condition, and thought a second move might been in the best interest.
All right. So the treatment centers were not helpful to her, but you then felt she was in a better position to move with a return with a
Wait,
great.
let him finish the question first, but you're objecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compound question.
And be careful, because you asked a few leading questions too, no one objected.
Well, we almost like to lead a question.
Yeah, I know.
Why was she in the group home only for 5 months? Was her behavior improving enough to? What kind of group home was this?
It was not really sure. It specialized in children that came from abusive families that were physically abusive, absent mothers, absent family members. A lot of the children in this group home, they felt neglected, and a lot of them exhibited feelings of blaming themselves for the sort of the destruction of their families.
Where did they transition to after this group home?
Well, usually we would make a plan and sort of work towards reunited family, but in this case, she'd only been there for 5 months, where her great-grandmother was better, and we were happy to reunite Sissy with her great-grandmother.
How long did she stay with her great-grandmother once you left the home?
She was there for about 2.5 years.
And why did she move from there? Or how did she fare at the grandmother's home?
She was doing really well. Her behavior had improved. She was doing well in school at the beginning, and then her behavior it began to worsen.
Her behavior began to what?
It became worse. Because she had been doing so well at school and at home, and then it sort of started to deteriorate.
What happened next from there?
Around when she was about 14 years old, the school that she was at filed a CHIN's report, a CHIN's petition, because she hadn't been showing up at school, more specifically to truancy. And a probation officer had been assigned to her.
Okay, and who was responsible for her care at this time?
This time, Sissy was still under the care of her great-grandma Carla, and the probation officer, his name was Ed Bankus. He was monitoring her behavior and progress at that point.
How often did you interact and work with Sissy and the great-grandmother?
On a weekly basis.
So what happened after the CHIN's petition was filed?
After that, at age 15, Sissy became pregnant by her 17-year-old boyfriend, and soon gave birth to twins after that, in which another DCF officer, she came into play to provide services, case management services to Sissy.
What was her emotional state when she gave birth?
Elaine, please.
Oh, sorry. What was her emotional state when she gave birth?
What's the basis?
She can't testify. Improper opinion. She can't testify as to somebody else's mental impressions and emotional feelings.
That's right. Ask another question.
What observations did you notice about her during that time?
She was very happy with her twins. She loved them. She felt that they were a stable force in her life. But as you know, her being 16, I can't speak for her, but I'm sure she probably felt overwhelmed.
Wait, you're not gonna have to move to strike the answer, because I already heard the
Yeah.
answer.
Or to strike the answer is speculation.
And improper.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it go.
Where did Sissy and the twins live at that time?
If you know.
If you know.
Well, at that point, another DCF worker had taken over upon her giving birth to her twins. I can tell you what I heard.
I don't know how to get this.
Is the department finished with this witness? Because we'll move to cross-examination if you are. If there are any questions?
You've gone to another, just, I'm gonna,
Go back if you want, if there's any missing.
I'm trying to figure out who the other DCF person was.
It's Karen, and so she takes off from that
But
point.
Amy,
But if
we
you
could
think
go-
you missed
we
anything,
could
go back.
Okay,
cover
so
her
I want to go back to
education a bit.
education. Right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Who wants to do?
That's where I was getting to.
You wanna tackle that, Amy?
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about Sissy's, don't talk about it, Amy. Sorry, I objected for myself. Oh, yeah. elementary school?
How about this, when you first became involved with Sissy, was she going to school?
Yes, she was.
Where was she going to school? Thank you.
She began at Joseph Lee Elementary School in Dorchester and remained there at the Lee School until the middle of 5th grade.
Okay, after 5th grade, did she complete 5th grade? No.
What grade did she complete?
Yeah,
What grade
which grade did she finish at the school?
Well, at the Lee School, at that time, she was in foster care and she was not permitted to complete 5th grade at the Lee School.
Why?
Well, the remainder of 5th grade and 6th, she had moved so many times, I believe 7, to different communities, and was enrolled in different schools a few times during this period. But she would move before she could actually begin going to class.
And why were there so many moves during this time?
Well, she was placed in different homes, such as St. Vincent's, the residential facility in Mattapan.
Jamie, you have to speak up a little bit. You're trailing off.
Because she had attended St. Vincent's when she was living there, and then was placed in the resident facility in Mattapan.
Okay. When did she resume going back to school, and where was the?
Sissy attended some special education classes when she was at St. Vincent's during the year that she lived there. And once she moved to the group home in Mattapan, she enrolled back into Boston Public Schools.
How was her performance there?
Her performance was probably average, maybe below average. She actually didn't begin attending school until she returned to her great-grandma's house.
And where did she go to school? What at her grandmother's house?
After an evaluation, it had been decided that Sissy go to McKinley Technical School to start 9th grade, but Sissy was adamant about going, refused to attend, and as a result, she didn't attend most of 9th grade. And then, at the conclusion of the year.
What's this? Are you just gonna continue just because the council's not asking you a question?
The problem is she doesn't have the fact. I don't move it. She can't make them up. I feel bad that I'm putting her on to make up.
Don't feel bad.
So why did she not want to go to school?
Well, she didn't have any friends, and she was, in her opinion, she felt like a social outcast.
Okay, and how did you deal with that?
Oh, we filed, the school had filed a chins report for truancy. She had failing grades at the time as well. And she continued to refuse going to the McKinley School.
And she what?
Refused to go to the McKinley School.
Why did she refuse to go to the McKinley School?
Well, she feared that she would have to leave her great-grandma's home. So she began to go to McKinley because she didn't want to leave grandma's home. And as a result, her attendance improved, but the tardiness was still pretty frequent.
Okay. What happened to her while she was attending the McKinley School?
While she was attending, she found out that she was pregnant.
Was the father a co-student?
He was. Well, he was in the high school.
Is he actively involved in child care?
Objection?
They're all leading.
Yeah, sustained.
No yes, no.
Right.
Could you describe the father's involvement in the family?
I don't really know. At that point, my relationship had ended with the Harrison family.
Co-counsels, I feel we're done with direct this witness. Do you want to go on to the next witness?
No, she needs to be cross-examined.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I think I'd wanna know what happened, you know, when she found out she was pregnant, what happened next.
Does this witness have that knowledge?
I don't know.
Okay, go ahead, ask her. Fine.
Right? I don't know.
All right, ask her.
So,
What's your question?
When she found out she was pregnant, what happened next?
I believe another DCF worker was assigned to her case.
She doesn't want to go there. She's done with her. The minute she finds out she's pregnant, boom, Jamie's out. What facts, DCF attorney, do you feel that you haven't established through this witness? What does this witness know about Sissy that I haven't heard yet? If anything, if you think that,
Well, she was acting in opposition, so I guess was she, I'd wanna know what, you know, like when they talked about she was acting in opposition, was she becoming abusive herself as she experienced it, or, you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't know where to put that.
Well, at a young age, because of the domestic violence.
Jamie, what are you doing? You're just like discussing off the record. You're ready to testify.
Sorry, I'm not a.
Why don't we let you come back to redirect?
I mean,
How's
'cause
that?
she was aggressive and oppositional, so it's like, so.
And I did hear that,
Okay.
so
All right.
let's
Go
have,
ahead, put them across.
who wants to do cross-examination
I'll start.
of Jamie? Joe wants to start? Okay, go ahead.
So would you say it's fair to say that the Department of Children and Family Services failed Sissy Harrison?
Is there an objection? Do you guys want to object to that? DCF attorneys?
I would object to this, you're asking her to make a conclusion then.
An opinion? But I like the question. I mean, come on, I just framed the, are you gonna let her answer?
No.
I'm gonna sustain the objection. I don't think that's the question that you want to be asking. I don't think she has the knowledge, experience, and opinion to make that conclusion. She does know about the facts. She's dealt with Sissy.
Well, she was
since-
separated. That's fine. She's-
Okay, go ahead.
She was separated from her sisters at a very young age, correct?
Correct.
And you never found her a long-term placement, did you?
What do you mean by long term?
Longer than, say, 3 months?
Well, she was placed in St. Vincent's for a year.
Right, but no with no family.
Well, then afterwards, she lived with her great-grandma for 2.5 years.
Okay. And her sisters were freed up for adoption, weren't they?
Correct.
And was she?
No.
Why was that?
Behavioral issues. She was experiencing depression, and she felt withdrawn, so we didn't feel it was appropriate.
I counted 12 different places that she lived between the ages of 6 and 15. Is that approximately correct?
Yes.
And when she lived at these different homes, she would be pulled from one school and put into another. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that happened many times. So she would start the school year in one school and finish it in another. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you talked about having seen her on almost a weekly basis. Is that correct?
Yes.
And for ninth grade, she didn't attend school very often, did she?
No.
What was done about that?
Besides a probation officer.
That happened in 10th grade, 6 months later. So for an entire year, she went to school while you were seeing her on a weekly basis, but she wasn't going to school. Is that correct?
She had been going, but she was frequently tardy, but her attendance at school had improved.
Do you have anything, guys?
And Geneva,
Yeah.
who else can
Yeah.
ask?
I can-
Uma, Ahmed, Stephanie? Any of you can do cross.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us, Sissy took a lead role in the care of her sisters?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Can you tell us if Sissy took a lead role in the care of her sisters?
She didn't.
She did.
Wait, stop, that's very good, but you don't wanna ask it that way. You want her
She
to
took-
admit to it.
Yeah, did
You
she?
want her
Took-
to admit
Did she? Okay.
that she took care of them at some point in time. So rephrase the question.
Did Sissy take a lead role in the care of her sisters?
No, no,
She
you
did.
don't wanna ask it that way, but it's, again, it's a very good question.
Okay.
You want her to admit that she cared for them at some point in time.
Isn't it true that Sissy took
Yes.
a lead role?
No, take away the lead role language.
Isn't it true that Sissy took care of her sisters?
When, and, you know, when they were how old, or,
When
you
they
know, we
were
wanna be more
the ages
specific.
of 10?
Or when they lived with
When
mom,
they
or
lived
whenever
together.
it was.
Yes.
Yes.
When, did Sissy show signs of emotional distress when she was separated from her sisters?
Yes, she did.
Did her sisters show any emotional distress when they were separated from Sissy?
I don't know.
Did DC ever look into the possibility of having Sissy live with her sister's adoptive families?
No. We didn't think it was appropriate for Sissy to be with her two younger sisters at that time.
Anybody else?
Children's attorneys are
Yeah,
going to?
absolutely.
And we use Jamie Krasansky, right? As the name?
Yes, yes.
Ms. Krasansky, isn't it true that you worked with the entire Harrison family, not just Sissy?
Correct.
So, in your, while working for that family, you didn't see whether Sissy's sisters exhibited any signs of emotional distress after the separation from Sissy? Is that your testimony today?
Correct.
And isn't it true that not only did Sissy take care of her sisters, as you testified previously, but that she felt more secure when they were together?
Yes.
Did you ever try to reunite Sissy with her sisters?
No. The two sisters were in other homes. And
So there was no attempt to reunite them?
No.
In your experience as a worker for the family as the assigned worker for the family, have you ever seen Sissy have seen Sissy exhibit any signs of drug or alcohol abuse like her mother?
No.
And in your experience as the assigned worker, has Sissy ever been physically abusive?
No.
And moving your attention to her education, isn't it true that Sissy would move to different foster homes before she could begin classes?
Yes.
So that would put her behind in her education, is that correct?
More or less, yes.
No further questions. I don't know if any of the other attorneys have questions.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
In your previous testimony, you said the goal when Sissy was put in the group home was for family reunification. Is that true?
Yes.
Isn't it not true that there was no chance of reunification because her sisters were already adopted?
That would be correct.
Anything else?
Any other cross-exam questions? I had one before and I just completely forgot what it was. Oh, yes. Sissy seemed to do better the times that she was placed with Carla, her great-grandmother. Isn't that true? And Carla today, and Carla today is going to be a witness. Never mind, forget that. That's all. Does the department want to do redirect, or do you want to call your next witness? Should let this witness step down? Thank you, Ms. Brzezinski. It's tough being a witness. It's tough asking the questions too, but it's also tough being a witness. All right, call your next
All
witness.
right, we will call the other DCF worker who essentially Sissy Karen Applebaum.
Swear in.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Who wants to start with this witness?
Like Jerry Lane.
Who is this witness?
DCF worker, since she became pregnant.
I met Sissy when she was pregnant.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask me my name.
That would be a help, what she does for the department,
Okay.
how long she's worked for the department,
You want my
curriculum
what I do.
vitae.
Right.
Okay, what is your name?
My name is Karen Applebaum.
What do you do for your department?
I am a DCI, I'm a social worker for the department.
And what are your credentials?
I have a BA in social work and I have an MSW, and I have been working for the department for the last 30 years.
What specifically do you do for the department?
I usually work with young women who have found themselves pregnant and are under our auspices.
And what state of mind did you find her in when you first met her?
I found her, I can answer that?
I didn't hear a prediction, so go ahead.
She was very excited and very nervous.
I have a question. I have a question off the record.
Okay, go off the record.
If she says something that half of it we want in, but half of it we don't, can we strike only some of it? Like for this, like saying.
Well,
no,
it
I was very
depends, so
excited versus
say
nervous.
she went on, say she answered the question,
Right, like
and
she
then
just-
went on as a narrative, you would be moving to strike, so, so much of her answer
Otherwise, you
after a
have to get her
particular.
across.
Well, I just mean, cause like, so she said she was excited and nervous, we can't strike the nervous part?
No, because it's part of the same sentence, pretty
Okay.
much, yeah.
Okay.
Most people are.
Yeah, yeah, that isn't, but again,
We should-
it would come up when the witness answers the question but engages in a narrative and you wanna strike all of this crap that comes after the answer, okay?
Ms. Applebaum, as your role as a, I'm not sure how to phrase it, pregnancy counselor for the DCF.
Basically, she's the worker assigned to Sissy.
Okay.
So, and Sissy happens to be pregnant, she happens to have dealt with a lot of.
But you deal,
pregnant.
you usually deal primarily with women in this situation, not other cases.
I've dealt with many women in this
Okay.
situation.
What sort of programs do you offer them?
We try to place them into, as we place Sissy into a program that will teach her the necessary skills to become a mother. We try to meet with them on a weekly basis to make sure that they are taking care of the child properly and that their emotional needs are being taken care of as well. we hook them up with a psychologist, someone who will give them counseling. We place them in a residential facility where they will be able to finish their education, yet still have people help them with the child.
So how many programs have you offered her?
Well, Sissy failed the first program that she went into, so.
What program was that?
Sissy was at the Critton and Hastings house prior to her.
How did she fail?
How did she fail that?
Although she attended regularly, she was not really, what can I say, she wasn't really participatory, was not really able to, according to the counselors at the program, she wasn't capable of understanding what they were trying to teach her to do.
At what point did she?
Are you moving to strike?
Motion to strike, yeah.
I'm
Why?
making this up.
Not capable.
She wasn't, they have an assessment.
Oh, shh.
Sorry.
No foundation, improper opinion goes to speculation again.
Here's what she's capable of.
Okay, yeah.
And
I'll
hearsay
strike-
if there's a statement.
Fine, I'll strike the answer.
Okay. Until what time did she remain at Crittenton Hastings?
Until she gave birth to the twins.
So wouldn't she have completed the program if she stayed there that long then?
Objection.
I'm bleeding, I'm sorry.
If I may answer?
It actually lets us.
I know, that's why I was like,
How? Under what circumstances would she have remained there past her pregnancy?
If she had.
Past her birth, rather.
Well, if she had been compliant with the program and had sufficiently shown that she was able to raise her children from that point forward.
Where did she get reassigned after that?
She went to another foster home. The department intervened and sent her to a foster home.
Is that the same home she's in now?
No, now she is, I believe she's back with the grandmother now. I'm sorry. Yes, that is the same home that she's in right now.
Okay. Has she continued any other educational programs since giving birth?
No.
Any questions down there?
Anything?
Then she went to McKinley.
What was your involvement with the McKinley School after moving her to the foster home?
What was my involvement?
Mm-hmm.
As far as Sissy or as far as other? I don't understand.
Well,
what-
she was moved to the, after she was moved to the education program, after she was moved to the foster home, she did not attend an education program, but the McKinley School held an emergency team meeting. Was there any involvement with you there, since you were obviously meeting with her every week? Objection.
Yeah. Leading? Yeah. You want her to say all that, not you. Right.
Okay. So after you arranged to have her moved to another foster home, were you
What
contacted?
services did you offer her regarding her education?
She was to go back to the McKinley Technical High School.
And did she?
Well, that's a leading question. I can't ask her that, can I?
She said it, I want the reason now.
Oh, okay.
So she's gonna testify why if she knows.
No, she did not want to go back to the McKinley Technical High School. She refused to attend that program.
Did she ever tell you why she refused that program?
Yes, she did.
What sort of programs did the technical school offer that could have been useful to her?
It's a technical school that tries to give people skills for jobs.
So
Ask me why she
Amy
didn't want
has
to
a
go,
question.
why she didn't want to go there.
Amy?
why didn't she wanna go there?
She just didn't like it.
So
That's what her statement was, she wasn't happy and she didn't like it and didn't want to be here.
Here's
I'm allowing it in, and why am I? Hmm?
It could have come directly from Sissy herself to the social worker.
And Sissy is what?
Party
Party.
side.
And what did the department do when she refused to go?
We had an emergency meeting. It was a team meeting, and to decide where Sissy could go.
And where did you decide she could go?
At that time, it was decided that she needed a she needed a special education setting. And we decided that we would do that with the Boston Public Schools and find a residential treatment facility that Sissy could go into.
Would you consider Sissy's ability to parent properly be affected by her lack of education?
What's the basis?
Beyond my
Well, what else?
Speculation.
Yeah, I'm gonna sustain it, but other reasons, I don't think she has the expertise to make that opinion. I'm sorry, Amy, you want to ask another question? Go ahead.
What was the reason, what were the special, or the skills that you were looking to get out of the special education program? What were her needs?
Amy,
Answer that and then we'll finish.
Sissy doesn't understand why she can't have her children or why she isn't a good mother.
Okay, stop. That's it for now. Does the department need more time on Thursday? You want to continue with Karen a little bit? Okay, we'll give you like five minutes or so we can get to cross-examination and the rest of it. You're getting the hang of it. Thank you. And for the can we say, let's say the twins are, let's make them about at least 9 months or so, okay?
Okay, 'cause
Instead of,
yeah.
yeah, because obviously, I mean, in this case, this wasn't a termination case when I had this report, but I wanted to be able to use it so we can talk about CEPs as well as termination. So let's make the infant, they're about, they're still infants, but.
But they're still going for termination.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
And did Sissy have them at all, or were they
That was
immediately
my
taken?
question.
Yes, they were taken immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.